Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Lab Podcast. Today, we wanted to talk about mental toughness. By we, I mean me and Kel. Uh, so, it's actually going to be a two-part series. So we want to talk about mental toughness and mental health, but we are going to touch on mental toughness first. But before that, Kel, what's up? How's it going?
Oh, just surviving right now, going through a lot. Prep is getting closer and closer, as you know. We are, I think, 23 days out today. Yes, 23 days out from show day today. I'm feeling really good. I had a really great morning. Got all my stuff in. Had a nice leg day. Strength is definitely cut back a lot recently. Fatigue is definitely high, but and prep face is in full effect. So all of my body is keeping score on my face. It's not looking great.
When you look rugged as fuck, it's going how it's
look
supposed
rugged.
to.
I do look rugged. I kind of look like a living corpse, but that's okay. We're surviving. We're making it through. I recently lost my dog on Friday. We ended up having to put him down, so it's been a kind of a really rough week, but we're surviving. How are you doing, Cody?
It's all right. For some reason, is Mercury in retrograde? I don't even pay enough attention
I don't
to
know
how to say
anything
that
about the
word
moons.
properly. But yeah, like things keep breaking. My camera broke apparently, just randomly. We're about to start this podcast, and it just wouldn't turn on, or like turns on for 5 seconds and then it just turns off. And then my TV broke on Monday, and I only had that for like not even 2 years, and
Sucks.
it just wouldn't turn on. Like the screen died, so you could hear things. You could like hear it turning on, but it's the screen. It just is black, and so it's just apparently that's a common problem with the brand and model that I have. And it's like, well, I guess it is a cheaper. So it's just like, I guess
Have you tried the whack method?
I'm about to. I was about to try to put my foot through that fucking thing method, but I might hurt myself. So don't want to do that. But yeah, outside of that, let's see. Let's think of good things.
But your arm is doing well, right? You were talking to me about it. It was pretty exciting.
Yeah, so like that's healing up by for anyone watching this on YouTube. It looks kind of gnarly still, like gross, but like at least like the skin graft is in, so it's like I don't have to worry about it falling off or something. No, I was kidding. It looks gnarly. That's the hardest part. I feel like and I went to the gym a couple times last week, just like one upper body, lower body. And it's so hard as a socially anxious person because I feel like I have to restart. It's like a reset of, being in society. Because like my only outing usually is the gym, but we have been going to the mall to like get steps in and stuff. But it's such a struggle. It's almost like I lose social skills quicker than I lose muscle if I'm not in the gym. So it's such a weird mind fuck to like get back in it. And there's like this anxiety, like I'm new. And so I'm just like, man, what is this? It sucks. So I'll get better, of course, but gotta push through that like weird feeling like I'm a newbie at the gym again feeling. And I think, the arm has something to do with feeling a little bit self-conscious. So I bought some arm covers to wear at the gym just to like at least have one less thing to kind of think or worry about. But yeah, so it'll be good to end. Like I'm excited to like get back into normal life. But it's just so weird how like the social anxiety side of things always just comes to try to like, smack me across the face. It's like a reminder of like, oh yeah, you're afraid of everything, remember? And I'm like, ah, shit, that's right. Okay. But anyways, that's about it.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I put in my notice at my gym because we're moving, right? And it looks like we're not gonna move until, well, we're moving all of our stuff this weekend. But I'll probably stay here for another week. Um, but after that, I'll be switching gyms and going to a brand new gym, which I am a little bit anxious about because I haven't done that in a long time, and will be like the week before peak week.
Yeah, that's intense to do, right for your show.
But I think it'll be okay because it's not like it's, especially I'm not going to be super strong or anything, so I'm not too worried about having all the weights. And the one nice thing about prep, I feel like, and I don't know if you had the same experience because I know you have a lot of anxiety, but like at a certain point, you're just so exhausted, like your anxiety kind of runs out of energy too, and you're like,
Yep.
I have no cares.
Yeah.
So like it is a little bit freeing towards the end because you're just like da da da, I'm just moving through based on my plan. I have no thoughts, just vibes.
Yeah, I get that. That's like the funny part, or like the part about prep that I like or find easier. Is like you're so tired, you don't have enough fucks to give to little things to worry about. You have less energy to overthink things, and you are just so goal oriented. You're not even distracted. You're just like doing the things, getting the shit done. Don't have time to do anything. I'm not even procrastinating because I'll be hungry pretty soon and I cannot afford to, it's just like, yeah, it keeps you on task with everything,
Yeah.
including anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited to talk about this topic though, because while I'm in prep, I know we're not there yet, but I am very excited. But before we get there, current events have been kind of boring. It feels dangerous saying that out loud. So I'm gonna
Right.
knock on this wood. But because politics be politicking, but it doesn't feel as scary right now because Kamala feel like she's doing really well, and so like I feel okay, which is terrifying.
I mean, that's great. It could also just be your prep brain. Because
That's very true.
I'm like, I'm worried.
uh,
So yeah, like, there was the DNC and yeah, I like to kind of hop on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, just to kind of see what, both sides are saying. And there was some good points, bad points, whatever you want to call it. But it's just, yeah, I think, she's doing good, but still going to be like such a close race. And I still have PTSD from like 2016.
and it's still terrifying. Don't get me wrong. I'm still very scared.
Yeah. And it's just, you watch everything unfold. And I think, I mean, I guess one thing is JFK did endorse Trump this week. That's one thing that was pretty huge.
RFK.
Oh yeah, sorry. So he endorsed Trump this week, and it was. I think it's a bigger deal than like some people are thinking because, I mean, he did lose some of his voting base already because he like left a dead bear in Central Park. I don't know if you heard about that.
I did hear that.
That was so weird. So that kind of pissed some people off. But he does have, a bit of a following that can potentially help Trump out. And what I've been seeing a lot on X is people who actually, were kind of like the never Trumpers, but since, RFK endorsed him and is probably going to have a position in his cabinet, people are being like, I really don't want to vote for Trump, but I trust him, so I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because I trust him. And
Yes.
like, yeah, so I feel like it's going to make a bigger dent than we might think. Especially since it's not just those who were going to vote for RFK, it's like those who also were on the fence, seeing other people kind of follow suit. And is that like, it's like starting the wave, it starts with one
Yeah.
person and then it's just like,
The avalanche.
yeah. So that does worry me. I do feel like this is like a game of chess where, at first, it was the Biden Trump debate, and Trump obviously pulled ahead in that position. Then there was the assassination attempt, which was another move on Trump
Quote
that pulled
unquote.
him ahead. Yeah, like whatever actually fucking happened or is happening, I don't know. I have my questions about that. But then we had Biden step down and then Harris take over. So that was like a Democratic move. That was a push forward. And then there was, the selection of the VP. So Tim Walz, that was another move. So it was almost like we're even up until, yeah, the RFK thing. And so it's just like, damn.
I don't know about that. I think we still are a little ahead, but I'm going to stick in my optimism for right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's for the best. I think it's just, I know that the debate is coming up. So that
Mm-hmm.
could be Harris's next big move if it goes well, but you just never know. And there could be potentially up to 3 debates. I did see, I think, that, Harris didn't want to do the one on Fox or something along those lines. Uh, but I feel like at this point, uh, she should, because if there's just like, if there's any little thing to pick at her for, they're gonna do it. And it's kind of like, why wouldn't she, if she's gonna be the one to win, and she's obviously smarter and, uh, I would say a better debater. I mean, she's a prosecutor, she knows how to speak.
Speaks for a living. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know why she wouldn't. I understand, Fox News is a little more biased, but at the same time, like, how biased can questions be unless they're,
I don't
like,
know. Have you watched Fox? It can be pretty fucking
well, yeah,
biased.
but at the same time, it's also an opportunity for her to like show people, what she's made of, her talk a little bit more about her policies, or what she how the like action plans behind her policies. Just talking about them is nice, but how are we going to actually do the thing? So I feel like the more debates, the better. But I know we only see like the tiniest bit of what is actually happening. We have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. There's so much we do not
Oh, for
know.
sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and I don't think we'll ever know a lot of. We won't know. The general public does not know the majority of what's going on most of the time, and probably never will.
No, and speaking of my alien hat, like,
Great hat. It's a great hat.
oh man, yeah.
But one thing that can help you get through these hard times is mental
Mm.
toughness.
Yes, yes, this is true. So even if Trump wins again, we can implement mental toughness to get through another 4 fucking years.
So let's go ahead and start with a definition. I pulled up one. Mental toughness, and just so everybody knows what we're kind of referring to, and we're starting off with the same lingo. Mental toughness is the psychological ability to remain focused, determined, and resilient in the face of challenges, stress, and adversity. Typically, it involves maintaining a positive mindset, overcoming doubts and fears, persistence through difficult activities to achieve goals. And then, of course, people with mental toughness can manage pressure, recover from setbacks, and continue to perform even when the circumstances are rough. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And how that kind of shows up in a fitness journey, in fat
Yeah.
loss, and in life in general. So, do you want to go ahead and kick it off? Let's talk about how this kind of links to fat loss and fitness.
Yeah. So I think, like with mental toughness, I think of confidence, being focused, feeling like you have at least a little bit of control over what is happening. There's not a whole lot of chaos in your life, at least from what you can control,
Mm-hmm.
being persistent and just, yeah, like not letting little things get in the way or really anything. Like it's commitment. It's, yeah, committing to your goal and not letting anything get in the way and essentially not crumbling under pressure, not crumbling when things get tough. And I feel like there's a lot of just learning to accept uncertainty because I feel like that's hard for me. That's anxiety right there. So,
Mm-hmm.
something I'm working on a lot. But yeah, it's because if like you don't have these things when you're going through a fitness plan, there's like life throws shit at you constantly. And if just like the littlest thing throws you off track, you're not going to get anywhere, not just with fitness, but life. Like you need an amount of resilience.
Right. And like also having mental toughness, because what I think about, and like kind of like another word or phrase that I would use to like sub it out if you're having trouble with like mental toughness as the term, is just that skill of rolling with the punches. So being able to kind of take a hit and keep moving, um, without a ton of break in between, right? So when you're talking about like fitness and health and stuff like that, what that kind of can look like is like consistency. Duh. Handling setbacks and plateaus, being able to manage your attitude for the time that it takes to do things with a fitness and fat loss journey, managing hunger and discipline, like treating yourself like the child, and parenting yourself, like we've
Mhm.
talked a lot about before. And then, of course, coping with stress and the changes and difficulties of everyday life. Um, and all of that the is foundational to fitness, right? All of those things you need to be able to do to be able to make kind of any results in the gym or with your weight loss.
Yes. Yeah. Should I go over some areas or like things you can kind of do or look into to
Yeah,
implement?
let's just go through them and we'll talk about each one.
Okay. So I wrote down some little key points here. So, first one, so mental skills training. So, like goal setting, visualization, working on your self talk. Um, so, like, that's going to be a huge chunk of most of it. Um, so, like, setting
Self
smart goals and stuff like that. Yeah. Sorry, go for it.
and it no, sorry. I didn't want to interrupt, but that like self-talk thing has been so huge for me this
Yes.
prep. And like that is where I've put like a majority of my like focus into like really shaping the soundtrack that's happening in my head like basically all the time. So I'm like, if I'm just surrounded by like uplifting things as opposed to things that are shit or emo or depressing, like the books that I'm listening to, the songs that I'm listening to, the mantras, the talk that I'm saying, all of it has to be positive. But
Yes.
not in a toxic way, because we don't want to get into toxic positivity. But essentially
Right.
kind of what I've been really focusing is on just let's get to the next step. what is the next thing I got to do, and that's all we're worrying about. Um,
Yeah. That's huge because I think a lot of times when people think of mental toughness, they think of being like mean to themselves, like get your
right,
ass up, do
David
this.
Goggins, right? Yeah.
Exactly. That's the exactly the person that came to mind. And I listened to his podcast, one of his podcasts once. I think he had, I can't remember the host, but essentially he motivates himself in a way that like 0.1% of the population motivates themselves. And I think that's the thing you have to remember. There's always something to take away from each person, but you have to remember that you are not that person. So you might have things that you have different ways of motivating yourself because you're just a whole ass different human. So David Goggins motivates himself by basically being an asshole to himself. That's just he
Right.
literally that's how he does it. Or he just like talking about he
It's
stands in the
abuse.
mirror. Yeah, like he abuses himself to keep things going. And so that's why it's like, I just want to make a point that you do not have to do that. Like, if you don't respond to that in a positive way, then that doesn't work for you. So you might want to try something else. So being like kind to yourself, but in like a sternly kind way. I think we also kind of, it's like extremes, right? There's the too kind to yourself where you justify everything, yet enable yourself to like keep your bad habits. And then there's the asshole to yourself where it's like this all or nothing mindset, or it backfires trying to motivate yourself because you hate yourself. And then you're just like, well,
Mm-hmm.
fuck it, so it's like you have to find that middle ground for you, what works for you. And
Right.
I feel like for me, positive talk and the like, oh, like just be kind to yours, like that makes me want to like, no, I just cringe and does not motivate me. So that's not to say I'm like talking shit to myself like Goggins. It's more of a different way. So something that my therapist kind of like we talked about or she recommended is like instead of being quote unquote kind to myself or like looking in the mirror and giving myself positive affirmations, sometimes asking how I might be able to support myself in any given situation where I'm struggling, whether it's with anxiety or, to do the thing that I need to do. And that has been kind of a game changer for me because it doesn't feel cringy. And it's almost like I can kind of look at it as if I'm talking to a friend. And I think about how would I support a friend in this situation. So I would just kind of sternly encourage them. And so it's like that just kind of works for me. So it's kind of middle, not beating myself up, but I'm making sure I'm like supporting myself. If I'm feeling anxiety, I'm like asking myself why and like what do I need? And that's all.
I
Yeah.
love that. Well, I think I'm like a middle ground kind of guy too, because I do positive affirmations in the mirror every morning, but they're not abusive nor are they like flowery. So like I'll just give you like a couple examples of mine. Um, Momentum is messy. So that's just remembering that when I'm getting shit done, sometimes it just doesn't all work out and doesn't look nice wrapped up pretty. Um, the only person standing in my way is me, and I quit doing that yesterday. That's one of my favorites right now. And I really respond to ownership. So, like, putting it on myself, like, look, you're the only one who's going to do this. It's down to you. If you want this to happen, you got to do it, or it's not going to happen. And so ownership works for me. So I do think it is about like trying on a bunch of different kind of hats to see what fits you best. Because I agree, everybody has different flavor of motivation.
Definitely. So yeah, like you said, just try things out. Don't be afraid to experiment. uh, so as far as goal setting goes, so this is a big one, just because no amount of mental toughness is going to get you through, uh, expectations that are unrealistic.
Or vague.
So yeah, so vague or unrealistic, you're not going to have the mental toughness to push through that because you don't even know where you're going. So you got to start by making goals, and then we go with SMART goals, and the acronym always fucking escapes me. Like, what the fuck does the S stand for? I was like, Uh,
Oh, let me Google it.
strategic. I'm just like, I don't fucking know. I know it's
Goal. It's specific,
oh yeah, specific, uh,
measurable,
measurable,
achievable,
achievable, uh,
realistic,
in time, uh,
bound.
restricted, time bound. Yeah, man, that was awful.
We
But
got
yeah,
there.
so essentially, make goals that are realistic, and you know how long it's going to take. You have a realistic idea of how long it's going to take to get there, and break it up into small pieces. Just have things to like celebrate along the way, so you feel you're getting somewhere. You're not feeling frustrated. So yeah, and it has to be specific. Get as specific as you can get.
Yeah, you got to have a
Otherwise,
clear visual of where you're going, or you're not going to get there. You have to put something in the GPS, or you're going to get lost.
you don't just say Siri, take me wherever, because
Right.
it's not going to work. I mean, she'll probably take you somewhere, but I don't know. We should try it. Just kidding.
Uh,
Um,
what's your next on your list for mental
uh,
toughness?
visualization. So, what are some ways we can? How do you visualize things? Do you
Sure.
visualize
So
things?
yes, work. I'm working on this a little bit more recently, especially after watching the Olympics, because I noticed so many athletes that I was watching doing like the visualization work, like right before their like performances. But I do a little visualization, so I'm a big visualizer when I'm like in bed. So when I'm starting to worry about like show day, I'll start thinking about the show and how it's going to feel to be on stage and the feeling that I want to have. Because I focus on the feeling I want to have and then I work backwards to try to create that feeling. So if I want to be super fucking proud and not have any anxiety or fear, I just want to give everything I have so that I know I left it all on the field. So that's a lot of what I'm visualizing is like, okay, I got to check all of these boxes off. Um, so when I'm up there, I don't have any questions that I did what I could. And that's kind of how I visualize. I try to think about the feelings. And again, I try to cultivate what I want, not just let my anxiety guess what it thinks is going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's one thing to remember too. At the same time, you can visualize yourself in a positive way. You can also visualize in a bad way. So you got to stop your mind from
Absolutely.
doing that, because you will get in your head with that. So it's kind of like, just remember, let that creativity go to good, not bad.
Yes. Because it is your choice if it's going to good or bad, like, right? You can control that and you can change it. So you just have to keep noticing those patterns and correcting them.
Yes. Yeah. And it's hard,
Do you want to?
especially because you don't notice it at first,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
but yeah. Sorry, what was that?
No, I was just going to see if you visualize differently or if that's kind of the same way you do it.
I mean, I will like actually like daydream it, visualize it kind of thing. Like if I'm thinking about stepping on stage or whatever, then I visualize myself getting on stage, doing my routine. I, you know, I'll visualize winning. I don't like to visualize losing, obviously, but it's just like it helps me just kind of stay committed and focused and motivated. So it's like I don't really have a lot of particular thoughts behind it, except for in the same way that you described. It's just knowing that feeling, being on that stage, and also knowing that the only way I'm going to feel proud of whatever happens is if I know I did absolutely everything I could to bring my best physique. So I know that's the main concern and thing that matters most in bodybuilding, because it is so subjective and you can really get in your head otherwise. So it's just like the only thing you really can focus on is just knowing the work that you put in. And even if you get, even if you don't win, or you get last place, if you still put in all the effort, 100% gave it everything you had, you know, there's still something to be proud of. Because I mean, you still even got on the stage in the first place, and maybe it was an incredibly competitive lineup, you know? So last place doesn't always mean it's because you sucked. It's just that, like, maybe a lot of
that
really
day.
great guys, yeah, like a lot of good guys showed up. And in the same way, someone who showed up on stage fat could win first place if there's only like one other person in their division and they look worse. So it happens.
Well, and in that mindset, it works for everything, right? So it's not just for stage day. If you want, say you have a fat loss goal, you want to lose a certain amount of weight before you go on a big cruise or something, you'll know on that cruise if you did everything you could or you didn't. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect, because that's not the mindset that we're going for either. We're not striving for perfection. We're striving for the best you can do, because all this stuff is cumulative. So it adds up. Things count, even if you're can't be the most consistent human. As long as you're aiming to get more and more and more consistent, and you continuously work towards that, you're gonna make yourself proud.
Yeah, agreed. Yes. So then we already talked about the self-talk. So stress management. And this one's also pretty huge, because it's also hard to remain mentally tough if you are stressed out of your mind. And no, stress is not something you need to use to build mental toughness. Like, don't bring stress on to yourself thinking it's going to make you stronger.
No, and I think it's stronger to realize that stress is something that you have to combat and deal with it like a grown up. That's what you need to do. You don't need to just push it away and say, oh, I'm ignoring the stress. That makes me mentally tough. That is not the case. Your body will hold that stress and it will affect you, even if you ignore it. And I think, as Cody knows, that's kind of what this prep has showed me to an extent.
Yeah,
But
so that's to work on.
right. But stress management and realizing that you're stressed and dealing with that stress does help you build mental toughness, because you'll know how to do it in the future and kind of be able to deal with the stress before it even gets as bad. Again, do you have like any stress management techniques that you want to throw out for help?
No, I'm just kidding. So I
Nah,
mean,
pass.
basically, you just have to know your limits, and that's coming. I know it's real cute coming from me, because I often don't know them until it's too late. But sometimes that's what you gotta learn the hard way. Like, that's just life. But yeah, it's like knowing how hard you can push yourself without pushing yourself over the edge, and that goes with, you know, life factors, but then also factors inside of training and nutrition. You know, with prep, specifically speaking, you know that you have to push yourself really, really hard, harder than you think you can even do. So when you're having to like push hard in one area of life, you might need to take your foot off the gas in other areas. So if you have other life stressors, you want to get those down. It's almost like planning ahead. You're like meal prepping for your stress. Like, okay,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
a really big
Your
life
capacity,
stressor. Yeah. You're like,
your
you're storing up
capacity planning.
stress. You're like, I got to save some room in the bank, because I'm going to have some stress. So I got to make sure that I have enough money to pay the stress machine so that I just don't go broke. Like, so yeah, you gotta playing even with stress, but also having like everyone has different coping mechanisms with how to deal with stress. Obviously, like the gym is one, but you know, in times where you can't go to the gym, kind of like right now, man, I think I'd just had to like turn to things like journaling or like little side projects that maybe I didn't have time to work on, or just letting my brain kind of wander uh, and like do whatever it wants, and usually ends up wandering with like journaling or like therapy. That's one other form of stress management. I've had more of that these days without the gym. So the gym can feel like therapy, and then there is therapy, and I've had plenty of that going on. So also just zoning out and watching like stupid shit on TV. That's one way too.
Yeah. I think it's really important to kind of have a list of stress relief activities. I have been really hounding my clients lately. I call it a dopamine menu. I tell them to come up with at least 5 things that they can do on any given evening to de-stress. So this doesn't have to be something like super long and involved, and I like to have different kind of levels of involvement. So like one can be 5 breaths of like square breathing, intentional breathing, just to regulate yourself, just to bring yourself down real quick when you have like an acute stress flare or something. So like something like a breathing or a meditation or a guided app or something like that. So that's always a good one for stress management. Of course, the zoning out on TV or something along those lines. Take a walk, always really great one for stress relief.
Yeah.
If you have any hobbies that you like knitting, I'm a whittler. If you have any kind of like hands-on activities, I think really tactile activities can help. Video games, those kinds of things. And I do also think that learning how to deal with stress management is a lot of becoming in tune with your body and understanding what the stress signals look like for you, like how you can tell your stress is like getting too high.
Yeah, that's definitely a good reminder, and don't ignore those signs when you start feeling them, because do you know, like, how do you recognize your stress levels, and like when do you know that you need to kind of dial things back a little?
Sure. I notice that typically with sleep, I'll start waking up really, really early, and my sleep will be affected. I also my mood changes. So, like, if I am a lot grouchier than normal, that's usually an indication. Or I usually get really sensory overwhelmed, which is another pretty big indicator of my stress. Like sensory sound, like sounds typically. And so I'll have to wear my headphones a lot. And I can tell my stress is getting level or higher because of that. How about you?
Yeah, I would say definitely sleep as well. That's a thing. Also, how I feel in the gym. I can, even if it's just, not physical stress, but emotional stress, I feel it. I feel weaker, or I just feel tired. So that's a pretty big one. I'm trying to think of more. I think also the sensory overload. So even, if I am extra stressed and I'm in the gym, I get overwhelmed by the noises. So having headphones obviously is very helpful. But if I'm, not working out with my headphones, it can be just way, way, way too much. So I'm trying to think of what else. I'm sure Des could probably name some off that I'm not even aware of.
Yeah,
like,
if you're having if you're having a hard time figuring out what your stress looks like and what your stress signals are, ask your partner.
Yes, they know them because they're like, uh-oh, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you have another thing after stress?
Um, let's see. Not technically, but I'm trying to think of. Um, yeah, I guess there's like building routines as a way to kind of like, well, it's a form of stress management, also a form of mental toughness because it's like discipline, habit building, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I would take it one step further out and say, because I have it written down like this, is develop resilience. I kind of liked how they put that because it's like you to get mentally tough, you actually have to challenge yourself. So you have to push your comfort zone, or you're not gonna grow because
No,
you're not doing anything hard. So you got to get a little uncomfortable, or it's you're not gonna be able to do it. So I think that's one thing that people really need to remember is that you have to get uncomfortable. You have to do something challenging and a little hard.
yeah, yeah, and it doesn't have to be like Goggins hard, where like your feet
Yeah.
are bleeding and you have kidney damage because you just keep running. Like uh,
Right.
it's you don't just go from 0 to 100. So maybe your hard to start is just getting yourself to the gym. you know
Yeah.
that's probably uncomfortable to start, so that's where you start, and you just kind of, it's progressive overload with life. How do you get
With
stronger?
hardness.
Yeah. Progressive overload with discomfort, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, so how do you get stronger in the gym? You up the weight, up the reps, whatever. You're progressing. How do you get stronger mentally and tougher in life? Same thing. But in the same way that you wouldn't just walk in the gym and bench 300 pounds, then you're not going to just like pick the hardest thing there is to start and expect a good result. You will mentally injure yourself.
Nah, yeah, I suggest doing something like even less. So you want to just think about stepping out of your comfort zone. So maybe it is going to the gym. Maybe it's pushing your walks a little longer. Maybe it is reframing situations that are difficult. So say you have like a really hard person that you're dealing with at work. Well, you're learning how to fucking deal with hard people. And you're so you can take that and hang your hat on that because you have to you have to do it, so you might as well do it and put a good spin on it, so learn something from it. So part of this embracing and challenges is also looking back at the failures and at the successes of doing the challenge, because you're not always going to pass with flying colors. Like, you're gonna fail a weight, you're gonna miss a walk, you're gonna give in and have ice cream for dinner. But it's what you do after that, how you analyze that situation and how you move through it. That's where that mental toughness is going to develop.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. Trying to think
Love
if
it.
there's. Oh, so there's like some challenges or things you can do to kind of like, is because you have to like point out your weak points first, right? In order to
Absolutely.
get out of your comfort
Take a
zone.
little audit.
Yeah.
Audit
So
of
like,
yourself.
so challenge for the audience: audit yourself. Find your weak points. What makes you uncomfortable, and maybe set some goals this week to kind of like slowly push yourself out of your comfort zone to try to build that mental toughness.
Yeah, like one thing that I hear a lot, especially from our community, is that they wish they had closer trans friends, or maybe a buddy to go to the gym with or something. And one way that you can kind of start working on that is just to like reach out to people. So just say hi, introduce yourself. That can be the uncomfortable thing. You don't have to go any further. That's Cody's worst nightmare.
I'm
But
like, that's
um,
extremely uncomfortable.
but that's something that if you really wanted to work on that aspect of your life, that's something that you could do. But remember, think of the smallest step first, because getting those small wins really help build your confidence to be able to get the bigger wins. So competency is what builds confidence, not just rah rah shish kebab.
Yes, and this is, I mean, kind of, this is on topic, and I haven't talked about this yet, and we can talk about it in the next segment. But like, so I was recently diagnosed with OCD, and this is the therapy that I'm doing is essentially just this. It's ERP, so it's exposure uh, reaction. Oh, fuck, I don't know. My brain
Mhm.
is not going to work to remember those. I just know it, but it's exposure therapy essentially. So they start you like they create this like hierarchy of fears. Obviously, social anxiety is a huge one. So right now, my anxiety is so high that I struggle to even like go to the grocery store or go to the gym. So like my assignments are to either go to the gym or go grocery shopping. And I know that sounds weird because I am like a coach and I'm afraid to go to the gym. It's like I've been out for 3 weeks. I have really bad social anxiety, or I guess OCD. I didn't, like sometimes you don't know what's normal or not. So
It's
my
okay.
anxiety is
We
just
love you, Cody.
another level of bad. So OCD. So I've been doing that exactly. And that's kind of how you build that mental toughness. You build a tolerance to whatever it is you're afraid of until that fear, just it goes down. And so every time you just build up on top of that. So it actually does work. There's a whole ass therapy around it, and I'm in it currently. Like I'm in it. And it's not easy. It's hard, and it can be anxiety provoking, but yeah, it works.
That's great, man. I'm happy that you found something that works for you.
Yeah.
Um, do you have anything else on mental toughness? I think we covered most of my points that I have written down.
Yeah, that's all I got. So
Cool.
can't think of much
If you
else.
all have any other mental toughness thoughts and questions, drop some comments, send us a review, or share with friends. Just a little plug.
Oh, that was great. I could have been a commercial. I'm just gonna like clip
We
that.
just needed a music. Just the music to go in and out.
Yep, exactly like that.
Oh my god, so sorry, friends. Okay, are you ready for the power talk?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. All right, so this one's kind of silly and it's anonymous, but I found it and I loved it. So, the greatest oak was once a little nut who held his ground. And I really
Yeah.
like that quote because every tree, no matter how big it is, started as every oak tree started as a little acorn, and he just stayed there and and grew and refused to stop growing.
Yeah.
And I think it just really highlights the fact that mental toughness is really what gets you the results you need. You have to have these mindset tricks, not tricks, these mindset habits, these mindset foundations to be able to move through your life and to have the success and results you want. So work on this mental toughness, and but don't be too much of a jerk to yourself.
Yeah. Just a mild jerk. But
It's out of love. It's out of love.
yeah,
So
sometimes you need to give yourself some tough love. That's okay. But
that's okay.
still love.
Absolutely. All right. Until next time. Peace out.
Peace out, guys.